Okay, guys, here we go, part 3, and this is it. So, we've got all our nice tight line work, and we're just going to go in and add some shading and lighting. Make it pop. There is one phase that I didn't record. I do a little bit right now while you're watching this, but basically it's the rendering and the shading, or not the shading, the rendering, feathering if you want to call it, and texturing, I suppose. We're just adding a couple lines, to break up things, but to give it a little bit more like a rock texture if it was, or a wood texture, just to make things, seem interesting. The reason I didn't record that is it would to me it would have been a very boring video to watch. Kind of like doing the lighting, I guess, is a little bit boring. But when you see it happen quick, you can see the image coming to life as as I'm talking or you're watching it. So it's not as brutal to watch. Again, if anybody would like to, I'll do a video based just on that. But yeah, so here we go. Right now, basically, the idea that I'm doing is you pick a light source in your mind that you'd like to light the scene with. There's dramatic lighting you can do with bounce lighting and rim lighting and things like that. I'm just playing it safe and doing just a generic top light, so as if it was like the sun. And so what you do is you're just shading and lighting everything where the sun wouldn't touch. So if it's coming from the top, the bottom of his face, just like the bottom of our face, the light wouldn't touch. And of course, I could have like a reflection from the ground, giving it like an underlight. But personally, sometimes I prefer just the solid black shadows and then one light source, kind of like the Hellboy look. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people that do different lighting, and it's all great. Um, it's just more of like a preference and a style, I suppose. You know, you're the one doing your artwork, and nobody's going to tell you how to do it. There's no right and wrong way to do your artwork. I do believe that there's tips and suggestions that people can give you that you should listen to at least. And I'm not saying incorporate every idea that everybody throws at you, because everybody has their own tastes, and that's what makes art so good, because everybody has their own distinct style, quote unquote. But you know, I do suggest tinkering around with what people say just to see if it's something you enjoy doing. If it's something like your heads suck and your proportions are terrible, those are pretty drastic and crude things to tell somebody or to even hear. But if somebody's telling you that they could be just angry, or if it's multiple people telling you, it's something definitely that you should be cluing in at. And if you think your proportions are off a bit, I highly suggest hitting up some forums online and ask people if you're not too concerned about showing off bad artwork, just to get improvements and things like that. That's very important as to grow as an artist, let alone what you're learning. So again, just to recap, if many people are telling you certain things about your art sucks, you can do one of two things. One, blow them off and forget about it. Or two, maybe look a little bit deeper and maybe there is something there that you're not noticing. And it's something you may want to improve on. Best example is, let's say you go to a convention and you show an editor your artwork, and like at a company you'd like to work at, let's say, and they're telling you that there's something wrong. Your lighting's wrong, your proportions wrong, your rendering's wrong. Uh, these are things you may need to consider, because if you want to work with that company, they may have a certain look that you need to adhere to. But if you're working for an independent or on your own, I've seen lots of artists that work on their own and their style. Personally, I'll just say, I'm not going to name names or anything, but I don't think they'll ever work in the big two. They may want to, and I know of a couple that really do, but I mean, based on what those companies sell, I think you kind of have to like judge your artwork that way. You gotta bend a little bit. Um, you do got to kind of go with the times. And if a certain company that you'd really like to work for has a look, you may need to reconsider your style if it's different, incorporating a little bit. It's not a bad thing at all. I mean, it's something you'll actually improve on, I think anyway, by adding new things to your style, to your artwork. Always keeping it changing, adding new things, removing things. Trimming the fat. It's always good stuff. But yeah, always stay true to yourself. I don't want to get this into a self-help video. Like, nobody wants to listen to that stuff. But what feels right and sounds good to you and looks good to you, I think really pursue that stuff because that's what separates you from everybody else. Just because we'll say Jim Lee, for example, a lot of people copy Jim Lee's style, his way of drawing, which is great. Learn from what you're doing. However, I think learn what it is that you like about his art, his style, and incorporate that into what you're doing. Don't copy it, incorporate it. So if you like the way he shades, or you like the way he draws faces, incorporate that into your artwork, but learn how a face works and how a face looks so that you're not just handicapping yourself and just becoming a clone. I mean, that's the worst thing I think you could do is cloning somebody. Simply based on because then it's not even your work. Let's say you get a client that wants you to do a superhero and Jim Lee's your style and you need to draw a superhero flying through a city. You're so forced into doing that style, you now need a whole bunch of Jim Lee reference just so that you can draw that. And I mean, if you're stuck in that situation, that's a very bad situation to be in because now you're not even technically an artist per se. Like you're not even coming up with the work yourself. You're just redrawing and retreading over work that's already been done. And deadlines are deadlines, and you have to cut corners. But to me, that would kill anything that I would want to do. I don't recommend it. I mean, if you're learning in things and trying to add new things into the style you're doing, okay, do that in your spare time. But a crutch is a crutch. You don't want it to become, an immobile chair that you have to sit in for the rest of your life. Most of us artists, we have to sit in a chair for the rest of our life anyway. You don't want it to be somebody else's chair. Enough of that bogus wisdom anyway. So here, this is one thing I definitely struggle on, and I get really excited about doing when I'm doing my own work, is clothing, folds and shading and things like that for clothing. And I try my best to do it, and sometimes when reference isn't available, in this situation anyway, I got to do the best that I can. And in that situation, I'm stuck knowing what I do. So if something doesn't look right, I have to try to fix it on the spot. Where I could easily, if I had reference, I could just go bang, look at the reference, go, that right there is why this isn't working. And all I need to do is erase this line or not add that line, or add this line, and it will work. So definite things, finding your weaknesses and trying to improve on them. Big deal. Big deal. So what we're going to do here is, before I got sidetracked there, basically I'll add these blacks to where I think line weight should be, and I didn't do a whole bunch of line weights that I should have done, but blacking in your core shadows, like the darkest parts of the drawing. And then what I'll do is once those are done, I'll go in and then I'll do rendering. So right now my shading's pretty much done. In the final scan that I'll show you at the end of the video, you can see the actual line work done in the rendering I added that I didn't include in the video, like I said earlier. And those are totally optional. I know a lot of artists that don't render whatsoever. And I mean, that's a style choice. I know a lot of people, they don't like that. For me, it's what I'm used to. And it's when I don't do it, I feel like I'm gypping the artwork a little bit. Again, it's a total style choice. So here I'm just adding in some details. Normally, for a cape in the background, I would just throw in some solid blacks. But by doing that, I would lose the figure and the form that I've done above it. So I figured I'd give it a little try and do a little bit of cross hatching, I suppose, just to give it a little texture look as well. I like how it came out. That way, nothing's totally lost. And if I were to go back and color this, or somebody else were to color it, I didn't screw them out of just making it a solid black. You could get some really cool dynamic effects in there. And here, just doing some final shading. We're almost coming to the end of the video. Excuse me. So I hope you guys did enjoy it and have a good time. And, thanks for watching. And I'll just toss in a quick little plug, and I hope to not do this too often. But you can actually buy this picture if you enjoy it, and many other ones on my site at jonathanrector.com in the store section. You can get a hold of me on Twitter. My username is ArtByJar. And don't forget to subscribe to keep yourself up to date with the videos. So have an awesome week, my friends. Keep the lead styluses burning, and I'll see you later. And enjoy the very brief and final image there of how it turned out. And if you want to see an actual full res, click the link in the description. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.